What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to a brand new edition of the Triple Threat Show. As always, I'm your host, Mayor Fatemi. Today, we're having a little bit of a new structure going on for these shows. We got our fellow co-host or host, I should say, in Jeremy Lapidus, away on a vacation right now. He's on his way to Texas, and he's going to be gone for a week. So I'm going to be taking over the show as host, and followed, of course, by my good friend and co-host Nolan Jambor. We'll be running shows every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, same time, same schedule, so you guys know where to check us out. Today we're running a little bit of an audible than our normal shows. So, getting right into it here, we got right off the top, we're going to be talking a little bit about Shador Sanders, talk a little bit about the New England Patriots, the all preseason action. We saw the NFL kicked right off last night. The first games of the season outside the Hall of Fame game kicked off last night in their home stadiums. We saw the Raiders take on the Seahawks, the Colts took on the Ravens, and the Eagles taking on the Bengals. Three games that honestly you would really think wouldn't be too much, but we saw a little bit. We saw a little bit of stuff. We saw Anthony Richardson deal with some injury stuff. We saw Jalen Milroe go out there and put on a great show for the Seahawks. We saw a little bit of Ashton Genty action. We saw a little bit of the Bengals offense, a little bit something out of them that some normal preseason teams we don't usually see the starters out there, especially week one. But Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Chase Brown, they were all there. Everybody in that Bengals offense was there for that first quarter. So we're gonna be out and we'll be talking about all of that. But of course, before I get into anything, be sure to follow us everywhere you see here on YouTube at Triple Threat Show, at on TikTok at Three Threat Show, at the underscore Triple Threat Show, excuse me, on Instagram at Three Threat Show. Everywhere you can find us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, everywhere that you find your podcast, your content, you'll find us there. So be sure to drop a follow, a like, a comment, anything that comes to your mind or question. Be sure to drop those in the comments, and we'll be sure to get right to those, as well as probably maybe even cover them in a video. Throw out a little shout out, as it always goes. But I hope you guys have a wonderful beginning to your Friday afternoons. But let's get right into the action here, and we're gonna start off with that NFL preseason action last night. I think we have to start probably first things first with the Indianapolis Colts because Anthony Richardson. This is a guy in Anthony Richardson that already 2 months ago got ruled out indefinitely with a shoulder injury. He continues to get injured time and time again. He's missed almost double the games that he's played, and this is a guy that coming out of college everybody saw as one of the best talents coming into the league, a Cam Newton esque, a Lamar Jackson esque, a Michael Vick esque player, esque player, but type of guy like that, a type of build, quick, can throw the ball, has an unbelievable arm, can sling it, is quick, elusive, can evade the pocket, has a good pocket presence. We saw a lot of great things out of him in Texas, and we thought he was going to continue with those strides. Nonetheless, I mean, it's not a big deal, but Anthony Richardson leaving the second quarter last night against the Baltimore Ravens with a dislocated pinky. Yeah, I know it's just a pinky and it's nothing crazy, but it's just another one of those signs that the Colts are dealing with a quarterback that is getting injured time and time again. Granted, his pinky looked like it was sideways, but this is a guy, it's just injury concerns time and time again. Nonetheless, there is a little bit of a quarterback battle going on over there in Indianapolis. Is it going to be Daniel Jones? Is it going to be Anthony Richardson? Daniel Jones last night having a decent game himself, not his best game, but of course it's week one of the preseason, so there's not much you can really talk about. 10 to 21, 144 yards, nothing crazy from him. Only played through the third quarter. Fourth quarter, they handed the ball off over to Ryan Leonard over there, but nonetheless, it's Daniel Jones or it's Anthony Richardson, and it's an absolute battle to see who is going to get that spot. It's really interesting, and it's gonna boil down to probably week 4 before we find out who's gonna be the inevitable starter. I think it's a 50-50 shot right now, as much as I want to lean towards Anthony Richardson right now, but I really do think it's 50-50. No doubt about it. Going from there to the next game, I mean, there's not much to talk about in the Bengals and the Eagles. Not a whole lot happened. It was the Bengals starters playing in the first quarter, like I mentioned at the top of the show, followed by the second quarter. I apologize. Followed by the second quarter and the rest of the game being the rest of the start being the backups. Desmond Ritter, we saw a little bit of Jake Browning action, a little bit interesting there. Desmond Ritter having a great second half of that game. I would not be shocked if he ends up taking that backup role behind Joe Burrow. As much as I want to say Jake Browning, and he has had some real in-game action because Joe Burrow's been hurt a couple times. So you guys remember that thumb injury when he tore the ligament in his thumb and he was out for the rest of the season. I think that was 2 years ago. Nonetheless, I really like how Desmond Ritter showed up last night. He was a starter in Atlanta 2 years ago, and I think he's a decent talent. He can be a really good backup quarterback, and especially on a team that has a whole lot of weapons. A guy that he's just a guy that can just be a young game manager that can learn from Joe Burrow, that could grow with the team. Just he needs some time to grow and develop, and he hasn't had that in a functional great in a functional system because we're talking about Atlanta back in the day when they were getting 5 wins, 6 wins max per season, and he only started 2 seasons over there. So just got to give him a little bit of a break nonetheless. But other than that, the Eagles winning that game 34-27, and yeah, just going through the numbers, Joe Burrow. Oh. There is one guy that I need to mention because I don't know how I forgot about this. Can we talk about Tanner Hudson? If you guys are playing fantasy football, if you guys are playing fantasy football, and I'm not saying take this with a 6th round pick, don't do that. But in the 10th, 11th, 12th rounds, even if you want to push your luck and say, oh, I'm going to go into the free agent market, I don't think he's going to be there in the waiver wire. Get Tanner Hudson on your fantasy team this year. He is an absolute stud, had 2 touchdowns last night, 6 receptions for 62 yards. Got caught a touchdown pass from Joe Burrow in the first quarter as well. So he was with the first line with the first team reps with Jamar Chase out there. It was a great game. He had a great game. Phenomenal game. 6 receptions, 62 yards. From Joe Burrow side of things, 9 to 10, 123 yards, 2 touchdowns. Normal Joe Burrow-esque numbers. What else do we really expect? Easily a top 3 quarterback in the league right now. Jamar Chase, 4 receptions, 77 yards and a touchdown. Shout out the Ravens cornerback. I can't remember his name right now, but if you guys watch the game, just go look up the play. Probably one of the worst tackles I've ever seen. Jamar Chase just doing a little quick end around and just taking off to the end zone over there. That's how he got that touchdown. That was a crazy move, and that's just how Jamar Chase plays. One of the best wide receivers in the league. But yeah, like I mentioned, Desmond Ritter 7 of 16 for 91 yards and a touchdown, and Jake Browning 6 of 14 with an interception. And that was the second or third quarter. Jake Browning, Desmond Ritter finished off that game. So that's all you got to really know about that one. Across the board, just not really a whole lot going on in that game. Last, but certainly not least, I wish I had my Seattle hat. I have my jersey over there, but I'm not throwing it on. We got the Seahawks and the Raiders. This is a preseason game. Why are we talking about this? Because we saw Jalen Milroe for the first time. And did I even mention that we saw Pete Carroll for the first time step back on an NFL field since being fired by the Seahawks, and then the first game back, he was back in Seattle. That crowd was so loud, and they gave him a standing ovation. They gave him a nice pop pregame, and I was so happy to see that. A guy in Pete Carroll that deserves nothing, has honestly given nothing but everything that he has in him to that organization. I really can't say, I'm not saying he's perfect. I don't think he handled that Earl Thomas situation the best, but nonetheless, he built an unbelievable defense. He built a really good offense. He coached Russell Wilson to a Super Bowl. Should have won probably more than one if Russell Wilson had a decent offensive line, but nonetheless, this is a Seahawks team that was really good last year, and I really expect to continue to put on a show because I think this team, Seattle, could be a really good team coming up. They had a really good game. They saw, like I mentioned, Jalen Milroe run out there and had a great game. They saw They didn't see Sam Darnold in week 1, and that is something that we're all waiting for as Seahawks fans. And honestly, everyone across the league, we're really waiting to see how Sam Darnold is going to develop in this offense. I really have no idea. I'm kind of keeping an open mindset about it. I'm not saying he's going to be terrible. I'm not going to say he's going to be great. I'm worried about that. I am a little bit worried about that pocket because that offensive line in Seattle is not great at all. It really isn't. Did I mention that this game was a 23-23 tie? Crazy stat. First game of the season. That might be the first time in preseason history that we saw a tie in a game. 23-23 your final score there. We'll get into that a little bit later. But other than that, we saw Geno Smith start the game for the Raiders. 1 of 3 for 15 yards. Not a whole lot. Probably just won his first series. But, but, we did see a little bit of Ashton Genty out there. We saw 3 carries. Not a whole lot either on that one. -1 yards on over there. But then, nonetheless, that's a Seahawks defensive line that's really good. Going up against a Raiders offensive line that's just there's not a whole lot of. I said the Seahawks offensive line was bad. Don't even start talking about the Raiders offensive line across the board. I'm really just looking for this Seahawks team to just kind of piece it together as they go. And it's kind of the same for the Raiders. They have some talent. They got Raheem Mostert in the offseason. They got Ashton Genty. They still have uh, Jacoby Myers and that decent offense wide receiving core. I wouldn't say it's great. They do get Jordan Beck or Jack Beck, excuse me, I apologize. And you have Brock Bowers at your tight end position, which is always a plus whenever you have Brock Bowers because he is easily the best up and coming tight end coming up soon. He's going top 3 in the fantasy draft. Everyone knows it, and I expect him to have a breakout year. I don't think any of my buddies are seeing this. I'm going for him too. So any of my friends going on in my leagues, don't watch this video. But let's keep going here. Across the board, there wasn't a whole lot from the Raiders side of things. Didn't have a whole lot of eye candy things. Ashton Genty, Geno Smith, that's pretty much it for news over there. But from the Seahawks side of things, like I mentioned, we saw Drew Lock start the game. 12 of 22, 147 yards, touchdown, and a pick. I like Drew Lock. He's a good player, nice player. He was a good backup last year. 2 years ago, we saw him go up against that Eagles squad and have that crazy game-winning drive. And I remember jumping up and down when I saw that. That was one of the craziest, that is one of the most memorable moments of recent Seahawks, I can really say. But outside of that, I mean, he hasn't done a whole lot. He goes to New York last year. The Seahawks re-sign him this offseason. He goes to New York, doesn't do too much with the Giants, leaves, comes back here this offseason. And this is his first action since that 2 years ago stretch when he came in for Geno Smith when Geno Smith went down. So I don't blame him for starting the game, and I don't blame him for being second on the depth chart so far. I'd say it's easily Darnold, Locke, and Milrow, if you think right off the bat. No doubt in my mind. However, I would be remiss if I didn't bring up how good Jalen Monroe looked. And yeah, you could say he just used his legs a few times, escaping the pocket. 3 of 38, rushing the ball, escaping the pocket, scrambling really well, getting a couple first downs. 6 of 10 throwing the ball, 61 yards, not a whole lot, but he didn't work with a whole lot of time. Came in at the beginning of the fourth quarter. But, and this was a big but, at the end of that game, the Seahawks were down 23-17. And with a minute left, this is Jalen Milrow that strutted on the field and led them on a game-winning drive 70 yards down the field in a minute and 15 seconds. I don't know if that's the exact number, but it's between a minute and a minute 30. It was a 2-minute drill. It was a real in-game 2-minute drill. That has to matter for something. That has to matter for something. For a guy to come in that moment, a young rookie player that a lot of people doubted. He was a third round pick. A lot of people doubted him. And he comes out there and puts on an absolute show. Going on a game-winning drive, like I mentioned. I mean, that's a great sign from Jalen Milrow, keeping his cool, leading his team down the field. Strutted out, used the out of bounds really well, was doing a lot of out routes, was keying in on that outside play, and whenever he did go down the field, he made sure to run the offense up, hurry up offense to make sure that clock didn't run out. He did really well. And I was actually really happy with what I saw from Jalen Milrow across the board over there. Outside of that, we didn't see a whole lot from that offense. I mean, a lot of the starters didn't play. We didn't see Cooper Kupp out there. We didn't see JSN. We didn't see Kenneth Walker. The best wide receiver you saw out there was Jake Bobo. Yeah, Jake Bobo. We didn't even see Zach Charbonnet. So we don't know exactly how this team's going to look. But in terms of what we saw, we have to be happy with the quality that we saw and what we've heard out of training camp, out of Jalen Miller. We've heard nothing but great things. So I think he's going to be the second, going to be the backup, and I think I wouldn't be shocked if we see Jalen Miller this season. I really wouldn't. It looks really, really more and more likely the every week that goes by from training camp to week 1 of the preseason. I can't wait for week 2. But yeah, that's my preseason news. I'm gonna take a short break. Next video, you should be coming up. You should be seeing this as soon as this is out on YouTube. The next video, we're gonna be talking a little bit about. We talked a bit about past preseason. Next, we're gonna talk about the current preseason. We're gonna talk about today. And we're gonna talk about the rest of the weekend moving forward because we only saw 3 games. There's 32 teams out there in the NFL. There's a lot of games to be had, and this is the start of the NFL season. We have a lot to preview. So, check out the next video coming up soon, coming out next, and I'll see you there. Bye bye.